Hello everybody out there in YouTube land, my name is Don and I am about to partake in a project that I am going to call To the Kitchen. It's going to be a little cooking vlog and I will be preparing some of my favorite dishes and show you just how easy it is to make some yummy grub. First of all, we're going to test out my new camera and we're going to start simple with a batch of chocolate chip peanut butter cookies, and I'm going to do this for some friends of mine in New York, Long Island to be exact, Staten Island. Close, it's an island. Donna and Donna. We're going to make these and send some out to you, but I can't make them here in my little love seat, so we have to go to the kitchen. Now, as you can see, I have my ingredients laid out, and what we're going to need for chocolate chip cookies today is flour, baking soda, some salt, butter, sugar, brown sugar, vanilla, chocolate chips, and today we're including some peanut butter chips for my friends Donna and Donna. And last but not least, we're going to need 2 large Grinnell eggs. And if you wonder what a Grinnell egg is here in Owasso, Perry area, some friends of mine, the Grinnells, have a farm and they have their own chickens. And they provide me with farm fresh eggs all the time. So, those are going to be our ingredients. Okay, the first thing we need to do is we need to take our butter and it has to be softened. And since I never put this out last night to soften, we're going to have to use Mr. Microwave. So we take our butter and put it into a glass bowl, and then I'm going to cover it with a piece of paper towel and we're going to stick it in the microwave. Okay, the next thing we are going to do is we have to weigh out our ingredients. Now, if you don't have a digital scale, it is very important, if you want excellent outcomes every time, to get yourself a scale, because you want to make sure your ingredients weigh what they should. Now, first thing we're going to do is measure out the flour, and gold medal flour weighs 130 grams per cup. Now we need 2 1/4 cups, so doing some quick math, that is going to be 292.5 grams of flour, what we need. So I'm going to put my little bowl on top of here, and we're going to use the tare function to zero it out. That way it doesn't weigh in the bowl. And I already have some flour in this plastic bag, and we're going to scoop out flour until we get 292 grams. So I guess I need grams on this, don't I? The next thing we need is a teaspoon of baking soda. Now, baking soda, it does make a difference if it's fresh or not. So as you see here, I got a fresh box. We're going to crack into that, and we're going to get 1 teaspoon, easier said than done, 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, now we also need a teaspoon of salt, so I'm going to grab my salt. Now I like sea salt, really flavorful, but you can use any kind of salt. We're going to measure out a teaspoon, and into the dry ingredients they go. Now, we want to grab a whisk. Easier said than done. There it is. We need to grab a whisk and mix up the dry ingredients. And then we're going to set this aside, and we're going to add the dry to the wet in just a second. Okay, next thing we're going to work on is the wet ingredients. Now, I took my frozen sticks of butter and I melted them in the microwave, so we have melted butter. And it's very important to use unsalted butter. Margarine, all that other stuff, I'm not a fan of. If you want good quality cookies, good quality product, use real butter whenever you can. I know it's a little more expensive, but it's well worth it in the long run. Now the recipe calls for, I forgot. Recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of sugar to be added to the butter. So we got 1, 2, 3, and then, if I'm correct, we need 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar as well, which we need 3/4 of a cup of tacked brown sugar. And the last thing we need to add to our wet ingredients before we give it a mix is some vanilla. Oops, vanilla. Now, here's another ingredient that you don't want to chintz on. If you can afford to get real vanilla extract, do so, because it will make a difference in the flavor of anything you put it into. I happened to find some Madagascar bourbon vanilla that was on sale at my local grocery store. Usually I'll use the McCormick's, and I will never ever use imitation vanilla again. Made that mistake once, not happening again. So we need a teaspoon of real vanilla extract, and then we're going to get out the beaters and give it a beat. Okay, here we go with the mixer. Let's hope we don't go all over the place with everything. Okay, I have my butter and 2 sugars and vanilla all mixed up, and it's nice and creamy. And we're ready for the eggs. Now, add eggs one at a time. Again, we have Grinnell Farm Fresh brown eggs. So I'm going to give them a crack. Add one at a time. And then mix it up until it's combined. Okay, now we're going to add the second one. And no, I can't do that fancy one-handed egg crack stuff. Maybe one day someone will show me how. But for now, this will do. And we're going to mix in the eggs until it's well combined. Okay, we now have the eggs combined, so our wet ingredients are all set and ready to go. And at this point, we're going to add the dry ingredients, but we're not going to dump it all at once. We are going to add the dry ingredients a little at a time. So we take our dry, dump in maybe a third of it, and then slowly mix to combine. Okay, we have our first part of the dry mixed in. Now, you don't want to over-mix this, because you don't want to develop the gluten. It might make your cookies a little bit chewy or rough or something. You just want to mix it just enough to combine it, and then your cookies will turn out perfect. So we've just added the second portion of our dry, and then we're going to add, let's add a little bit more. Then I'm going to scrape the sides down. And do this on slow unless you want to have a big cleanup to follow your cooking. Now, one of these days, after I get a billion hits on my To the Kitchen segment, I'm going to get me one of them cool KitchenAid stand mixer deal things. But until then, we're going to use a spatula and hand beaters. Okay, I've scraped my sides down. Give it one more mix. And we're going to do the last of the dry ingredients. Okay, now it's time to add the final ingredient, which will be our chocolate chips. Now again, since I'm making chocolate chip peanut butter cookies for my friends Dean and Donna, the recipe calls for 12 ounces of chips, so we need our little scale back out, and we're going to add 4 ounces of each. So we're going to start with semi-sweet and add until we get to 4 ounces. 4 ounces. Next we're going to add the dark chocolate chips until we get to 8 ounces. There we go. And last but not least, we're going to add the Reese's chocolate chips. Reese's, call me, and we can work out a deal for product placement. And we're going to add Reese's chips until we get to 12 ounces. Okay, in go the chips. Oh, yummy. And then take our spoon that we used for the flour and mix them up. Again, you don't want to over mix it because you don't want to get that gluten all active and stuff. But we're going to mix it up until the chocolate chips are thoroughly combined in our cookie dough. Okay, we have everything thoroughly combined and in our bowl. Now, very important step, what we're going to do right now is we are going to put this in the refrigerator for a little bit and stiffen up that dough. Get it nice and cool because we want to be able to shape it into portions, put it on our baking tray, and then get it in the oven. So right now this is going in the fridge for a little bit. Okay, what we're doing now is portioning out our cookies. Now I have my scale here with a piece of wax paper over it to keep things clean, and I have my chilled cookie dough. And what I'm doing is I'm taking what is a soup spoon, and we're portioning out 1 ounce chunks of dough, because I like my cookies all to be about the same. That way, especially if you have kids, they're not going to be arguing that, well, his cookie's bigger, or stuff like that. And that way, it just saves arguments. They don't have to be perfect, but again, I like to keep my portion sizes all the same. So I'm going to portion out a dozen cookies, and then I am going to throw the cookie pan into a 375-degree oven, and my cookies are going to bake off for about 9 to 11 minutes until the cookies look done. The edges just start to crisp up and turn a nice golden color. Then we will put them on a rack to cool. Okay, as you can see, I have my first tray of cookies portioned out and ready to go. Now, if you'll notice, I've got parchment paper lining my cookie tray. If you've never used parchment paper before, get a roll. It'll become your best buddy if you do any kind of baking. Non-stick, it'll help clean up, because once the cookies are off, they're going to slide right off, and then you just take the parchment paper, throw it away. Hardly any cleanup whatsoever. But anyway, I've got 12 perfectly portioned cookies ready to go in the oven, and I'm going in right now. Okay, sounds like this batch of cookies is done. So we're going to reach in the oven and yank them out. Yummy! Yummy, yummy, yummy. And be sure to use the Hooters food oven mitts. Hooters, call me. We can work something out. Use the Hooters oven mitt to get the cookies out. Now, boy, those look yummy. Now, I already have the first batch out and cooling on the counter. The first batch, I placed the cookies a little too far, or too close to each other, so I had to pry them apart. But as you can see, the cookies lift right off nice and easy off the parchment paper. And we're going to set them on the paper towel covered counter. And we're going to let them cool. And after I get this batch out, we're going to go back into the fridge and get our cookie dough back out. I have been putting the cookie dough back in the fridge to keep it nice and firm. That way the cookies don't spread out too fast and they don't get all flat and then cook too fast. So we're going to, again, finish getting these cookies off to cool, and then we'll put another batch in the oven in just a second. As you can see, I am now out of the kitchen and back in my living room, about to enjoy a single serving of my freshly baked chocolate chip cookies and a nice tall glass of milk to wash it down. I want to thank you very much for tuning into the first episode of To the Kitchen. We have more episodes forthcoming. I am going to show you how to make some main courses, steaks and cheese potatoes, all sorts of good things. Plus, we're going to have some guest stars. We're going to be going to some other people's houses, and they're going to show you some of their favorite dishes. And to top it off, I have theme music coming from some good friends of mine. I have logos coming. We're going to make this kind of a big deal, but still just have a lot of fun with it. So again, thank you very much for tuning into To the Kitchen. My name is Don. I'm going to enjoy.